I know martial arts just from watching
this? I mean...
I absorbed so much of it. There needs to be a wall to kick off of.
I think there used to be... Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I think that would be helpful, especially for someone like you who's a little smaller.
True. Use leverage. It's science.
It is science. Oh, man. Are you ready to complain about this movie?
I'm ready. I've got my things in my head.
You got your bitch list?
Uh-huh.
I can see how you're going to take this down. The brilliant direction, the great cast. There's a lot to complain about here.
There is. I'm glad you see it my way.
Well, I really hate to see Batman as an angry woman. What a terrible take on the character.
Okay. Calling her Batman
okay,
is
Punisher.
Way over.
I'd give her Punisher.
She's a boring Batman.
Oh, come on. All right, we're going to get into that.
Okay.
Is the dial on the 8?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
The boobies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Way to sexualize the microphone. Cancel Austin.
Okay. I know.
Hello, and welcome to the Picture Show with Austin and Phil Rood. I am Phil Rood. I'm the old guy.
I'm Austin. I will be playing the son.
Ooh, playing the role.
Yeah,
Are you not claiming?
I'm a method actor.
Wow, look at you go.
Yeah.
Cool. We've learned a little something about Austin today.
That's how it goes.
Us, what have you been up to this week?
Not a whole lot. School has absorbed my life.
Is it taking over?
It is taking over.
That's unfortunate.
It really is.
Planning for your future should never get in the way of the movies and television you want to watch today.
My life should just be absorbing media, and anything that gets in the way of that is a crime.
Well, I'm glad we were able to take the time to, watch our assignment this week at least.
Right. Honestly, I think this is the only thing I've watched this week.
Really?
I watched a few episodes of Doctor Who, and that's it.
Oh, a few episodes of Doctor Who.
Okay, well, that's standard.
Yeah.
That's like on in the background.
I mean, that's like 4 hours. That's not an insignificant amount of viewing time for someone who has a busy life otherwise.
That's fair.
When I hear, because I know a lot of gamers, and
Yeah.
when I hear them talk about how much time they've spent gaming, or how much time they spend in an average week, it blows my mind, because I can't even picture having that much spare time.
It's kind of insane.
I guess it's one of those things where I probably have the time. I'm just using it differently. You know what I mean? Like it, but yeah. I mean, I know gamers who, find a lot of hours to play games.
Some people, it relaxes them go online.
It's not a dig on gamers. I'm just, I'm always a little blown away. And I know podcasters who review media. Jock and Nerd, Imran, who I used to do sketching comedy with.
Right.
I think Imran watches every single thing. And I don't know how he does it. They review a lot. He binges TV like crazy. He has sound opinions on all of it.
That's insane.
Yeah, it really is. He and Anthony over on the Jock and Nerd podcast, they review a ton of media. And I'm always blown away and super impressed by them that they're able to have that kind of time to do it.
He must have a time machine somewhere where he just buys himself more time.
Isn't there like a Harry Potter thing where it stops time and then
it's a time turner?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The name doesn't help at all, but yeah.
Speaking of things I don't have time to revisit,
yeah.
I watched a couple episodes of The Midnight Gospel on Netflix.
Right? That's kind of like a animated podcast almost.
It is. I think almost all of the audio is from previously recorded podcasts that they're just animating and adding a little bit else into. But like the conversational parts.
Right.
Are that. Yeah. I've been told by a couple people it's up my alley, and it's near my alley.
It misses.
I didn't dislike it. It's a little bit stoner philosophy kind of. Hey, Buddhism's cool because we get to do drugs. It's like you're missing the point a little bit, but I get it. And just asking the big round and round questions, it's a little annoying after a while. And
I watched a few episodes, and it was like certain guests were better than others.
I'm sure there are some things that are better than others. Like Dr. Drew was on the first episode. I have some issues with Dr. Drew and his professionalism or lack thereof. In
so-called doctor.
His celebrity. I have problems with celebrity doctors in general. But
Dr. Phil, we're looking at you. You discredit all of the Phils.
Dr. Phil, yeah. Change your name. Stop running us all in the dirt.
Spell it F-I-L.
There you go. There you go.
It's different.
I think that's a good compromise.
Yeah.
Way to bring it all to the table, Oz. Good job.
I'm helping you out.
And then we can stop all the fighting.
Or should we?
Speaking of fighting, there was a lot of it in this week's movie.
Which is
the 2011 spy action movie, Haywire. Starring Gina Carano, Ewan McGregor, Channing Tatum, Michael Fassbender, Michael Douglas, Antonio Banderas, and Bill Paxton. That is a powerhouse cast.
It's a lot of famous people.
It's a lot of famous, good people. Not just famous people. These aren't just movie stars. I think these are good actors. I think this is kind of the cream of the crop at the time this movie was made.
Right.
This film was directed by Steven Soderbergh and written by Lem Dobbs. Lem Dobbs and Soderbergh have worked together before. And I think Soderbergh, outside of... Oh, maybe he hadn't worked with everybody at this point. I think this was his first time working with Channing Tatum, who we saw in Logan Lucky.
We did.
Which is also a Soderbergh movie.
I was wondering why his name sounded familiar.
Yeah, I didn't mean to pick. There are certain directors that I want to visit, and I didn't mean to stack these up right on top of one another. But after I picked it, I go, oh yeah, we already did a Soderbergh movie, but that's cool. I'm totally happy to visit Soderbergh work almost any time.
Sure.
Yeah, he had worked with Michael Douglas at this point in Traffic. I don't know if he'd worked with Ewan McGregor, but... Yeah, this was an interesting movie.
Well, why did you pick it?
I picked it because I remember this being a very interesting movie. And Soderbergh is one of those directors who I feel like he kind of does like a big movie, like the Ocean's movies. Like a big sort of blockbuster.
He did an Ocean's movie?
He did all three of the Ocean's movies.
Oh.
Before this. He will do something big for like a war, like something like Traffic, which is a big movie about drug cartels. It tells all these different stories. It does it in a really interesting way. But then he'll do like these sort of smaller movies, almost like art house movies. And I feel like this is an action movie, but this isn't like the Ocean's movie. This isn't a big crowd pleaser. This didn't do huge at the box office. This was a movie he very clearly wanted to make.
This felt like a student film to me. Like
a little bit. What aspects of it read that way to you?
Mainly that it looked cheap.
It looked cheap?
The lighting was my main issue.
It looked raw.
It's gross. I don't like the way this movie looks. I like the shots.
This movie has a couple different looks to it, though. Which points are you talking about specifically?
Mainly the beginning. There's like when she's introducing the job in, is it Belgium?
In Barcelona.
Barcelona, yeah. They're like doing all the exposition, and like there's this ugly yellow office and blue outside. It's just
the blue
gross.
tint. The blue tint for sure looks weird. The office lighting, I think, intentionally looks bad because, like, have you ever been in an office with fluorescent lighting?
Right.
It's panic-inducing. It's very ugly on purpose.
It looked like a low-budget YouTube film.
Wow, that seems like a little bit of a harsh criticism.
I got more into it the longer it went on, but then this morning I went back and I watched the beginning of the film to see, oh, maybe I just got used to it. No. It's just, I do not like the way it looks in the beginning.
Okay, do you think there was a reason that he lit it that way? Steven Soderbergh clearly has budgets to work with. He could have made this movie look as slick and clean and cool as all the Ocean's movies. Clearly it was some kind of a choice.
It must have been. Maybe he didn't want people to watch this movie.
Maybe he did make it look ugly on purpose. The fight scenes aren't fun.
They aren't bombastic like other movies.
They're not. They look brutal. There are things in this movie I think are supposed to look ugly. I think it's supposed to be like, this isn't James Bond, which is this glamorous, cool, hip spy world. This is more brutal than that. This is more real than that. This isn't attractive. This isn't a sexy lifestyle. It's
like de-glamorizing.
Yeah, I think so. But still having fun action scenes in there. There's a real, duality to this movie.
I think that could have worked as long as the story was better. Like, the first half of the movie, I was bored. And the look of the movie was not helping. There was nothing keeping my attention. I had to keep trying to focus on what was going on to try to understand the plot, because I was like, what is happening?
Okay, I will grant you that the plot does give you a lot of confusion, but I think that's on purpose too. They don't reveal everything until the very end.
Right, but when we're at that fancy dinner, mm-hmm. I have no idea what's happening there. I don't later that comes into play why that was important.
Right.
But it's give us a reason to think we're here and then have the twist. You can't just there's nothing going on up until that point, and so I was just confused.
There's nothing going on. The hostage rescue in Barcelona is nothing going on.
Well, that was just a basic day at work for her.
Yeah, but it was exciting.
A little.
It didn't put its hook in you?
A bit. I felt like the cafe opener with her and the guy fighting mm-hmm. was more engaging. And then
it was, yeah.
And then that part of the story just dropped off for a little bit.
It's nonlinear. It starts here. It starts at ground zero. It moves back.
We start almost in the middle of the story.
Exactly. So I think there were reasons for everything, and I think maybe they just didn't quite appeal to you. I want to talk about, since you brought up the look, what did you think about the things that took place in Europe, in Barcelona and in Dublin? What do you think about the looks of that? Because to me, that didn't look necessarily super attractive, super cool. It looked almost like a European movie, like a Luc Besson, what's the La Femme Nikita kind of these late 90s or early, I guess that was early 90s. But these spy movies that Luc Besson made back then, that everything European looks a little dingy. It's not made to look real slick and cool. The Europeans, I feel shoot their cities as they are. They're we live in old cities.
It's authentic.
That's what it is. It's like the way that American filmmakers shot New York in the 70s. New York didn't look like a cool, hip place to live. It looked like a toilet.
Yeah. Which is New York.
But New York in the 70s was very much a very dangerous, dirty city that needed cleaning up.
I think the first point in this movie where I was oh, maybe it isn't ugly was the foot chase in Europe.
Yeah.
Because I was oh, so it's intentionally, the lighting is intentionally ugly colors.
I think so. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it was a choice for whatever reason.
Right. I just didn't like the choice.
That's fair.
And then I also think when she was on the run in
Dublin?
Dublin, yeah.
You mean when she was actively being chased or when she was like just hiding out?
Both.
Okay.
That was when the movie started to pick up. When I understood, like, okay, this is the trajectory that this story is on. And also, like, her jumping from rooftop to rooftop. And
it's very cool.
That was very cool. Yeah, I liked that part.
Well, this is in the notes. I was going to get to this later, but we're talking about it now, so let's bring it up now.
Okay.
What I think is cool about this movie is that it manages to be a slow burn, right? Like you're saying, it's taking a long time to get there.
Right.
There's a lot of just dragging, a lot of talking. It's a slow burn, but it's somehow, I think, fast-paced. This movie is only 90 minutes.
What?
This movie is 90 minutes. This movie is so simple in its execution. The only thing we don't understand is how the double cross came to be. And that's the mystery they keep you hanging on. So it manages to be a slow burn in working up to the revelation of the double cross and how we got there. But on the way there, we have these great fight scenes, these great action scenes. Gina Carano is not an actor.
Clearly.
She's an MMA. We're going to get to that.
Yeah.
She's an MMA fighter who has, I think, a great presence, a great physical presence in what she does in this movie.
It's like dancers. They know how to hold their body and they know how to move.
But that's what she's here for. You know, like she's here to move
get why
a certain
she was
way.
cast.
She's here as a very physical presence who I think is very, very present in a no-nonsense way without being intimidating.
Right.
And I think she's great at that. But I think the fight scenes, she is fantastic in all the fight scenes. She did most of this fighting herself. A lot of the stunt work was her.
The fight scenes, like the action scenes in this movie are great. And I like them. And it's not that I'm against a slow burn. You need to show me where we're going while you're doing the slow burn. Like, you can't... It was directionless for me.
I don't think it was directionless. It had a very intentional direction it was heading. It just didn't go there in maybe a conventional way that I think you were expecting.
I guess. I don't know. I didn't like that part of it.
Look, if we look at the events of this movie, it's super straightforward.
After the end, yeah, but when you're in the beginning, when you're watching this for the first time, it's not clear where this is going.
Right. But you want to know everything going in?
No, but stories are supposed to have direction, and especially if you're going to have a slow burn.
This movie absolutely had direction.
You're allowed to mislead, which is kind of what they were trying to do, but they didn't set it up right.
They set it up perfectly.
No, they didn't.
Dude, it all starts with the Barcelona job.
Right, you're talking about it from the end. Like, look,
no,
this movie has a clear direction.
The Barcelona thing.
It's in the beginning, I know.
Yes.
Your viewpoint of the movie is coming from the end once you know everything that's happened. I'm saying when you're watching this movie for the first time, it doesn't properly show you where you're going.
Oh, you want to know how the magic trick is done before they perform the magic trick.
No, they can still have the magic trick. You just
want to know how it's done and what it's going to end at.
No, there's misdirection.
Oh, the woman saw it in half. Now I get it.
No, there's misdirection. So you have to set up.
Of course there
is. This is where my spy movie is going, and then there's the double cross, and suddenly you're on a new path, and they didn't do that. They just had this blank 20 minutes of a movie, and then they were like, okay, now she's double crossed.
They start in the cafe with Channing Tatum, right?
Yeah.
And they talk about the Barcelona job. They talk about this all started here.
I know.
Okay, so already the direction has been set. Something happened in Barcelona that threw everything up. Then they take us to Barcelona. We see the job go. Cool. Then she gets thrown into the Dublin job. Finds the dead body from Barcelona. Finds she's been set up for it. That's the double cross.
But up until she finds the body in Dublin, I don't know why she's there. No, I was confused for 10 minutes.
No, she doesn't know why she's there until she finds the body either. This is all about her point of view. We are learning things as she is learning things. That's we're not getting.
She took a job with no objective.
She took a job that she was paid to do. That's her job. She is paid to go be this sort of black ops contractor and to just do whatever for Ewan McGregor. Yes.
Okay. I don't know. I was confused.
The objective was for her to... She knew what she was there for was just to be the other half of Michael Fassbender's character. He was the one with the actual objective. She was there basically as backup for him and to be like part of the cover story. They needed a female spy to be part of the cover story.
All right. Okay.
So that's what she was there for, to back him up. He was doing his own thing for MI6, so he said.
Which was actually him planning to kill her.
Which was, right. He was basically dropped in there to frame her.
Right.
And set the rest of the wheels in motion. Yes, it is a slow burn. It's a slow reveal. That's how... I don't think this movie misdirected anybody in a bad way where it didn't pay off later.
There was payoff later. Just in the beginning, I didn't know where it was going.
But doesn't that help engage you? That shouldn't disengage you. That should engage you more.
No, it disengaged me because I was bored.
But
I didn't have any investment in these characters or the action because I didn't know what the point of all this was.
You don't know the point of any movie at the beginning.
No, but you should at least attempt to have that connection.
You know she's being hunted. And that she's trying to escape. And that she's trying to be brought in. That's what you know at the beginning. That's not compelling enough for you?
I didn't really put that together in the beginning.
I
saw, okay, she had a fight with the guy who was her coworker, and now they don't like each other. And
right.
I don't know.
But that's compelling to me. I don't know what else you want. Did you want an owl to bring her a letter and say you're a chosen wizard?
Harry Potter is bad writing too. Okay.
This is not bad writing. I think this is a smart, economical spy script. That's where I come out on this.
Okay.
This movie didn't engage you. I feel bad for you because
it engaged me in the end. I just had the first half of the movie. I was not invested.
Okay.
And maybe I shouldn't be blaming the movie. Maybe it was just me not being a huge spy fan.
By the last half, when it did compel you, did that change your opinion on the first half of the movie?
A little bit. I still think the beginning thing in Barcelona was a bit boring. Like the exposition, it's like 90% exposition, and then you get to the chase of the guy.
But that exposition of the characters should have helped invest you in the characters.
I didn't understand that the first time I watched it.
Okay.
It all moved too fast.
It does move fast. You're right. I'm not disagreeing with you there. I think that's sort of a strength of the movie. I like it when something is done this way competently. There is a caveat there. There's a scenario probably where this is done poorly. But when you're thrown into the mix with a team, a ragtag team, whatever, and like I like that they didn't break down their plan of going in to get the guy. You know what I mean? Like, it shows them planning it.
They tried to show it visually, but it was too fast for me to put it together.
But none of that was really important. It was just sort of like, we're setting this up. Here's them planning it.
Right, but I didn't know that. Like, right. I was like, oh, this is going to be important for the rest of the movie.
It's almost like a montage of them just working. And you don't know what everything's for until it all goes off. And you're like, okay, cool. Perfect. Like this works. We're not spending an hour on the Barcelona job. We kicked it into gear. They got the guy.
Right.
And, you know, and then that's, to me, what makes the reveal at the end so perfect is that they didn't rescue the guy. They kidnapped him. Like, it's...
Right, he ends up dead.
Right. And he wasn't being held hostage in the first place. Like, it's like, oh my God, what a... That's a crazy twist.
That was a good twist.
You know what I mean? Like, but if you knew that going in, none of that would have impact at the end.
I didn't want to know that going in. I just thought there could have been a better way to... I didn't feel engaged with the story.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know what to tell you. If this movie...
Maybe I'm unfairly putting it on the movie, and it was just me. But
I'm not putting maybe I'm unfairly putting it on you. I'm not... Look, everything doesn't click with everybody. I told you last week, like, Jojo Rabbit is a very well-made movie and very funny and very sad, and something didn't click with me. And you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Some things just don't connect. And I understand, like, maybe spy movies aren't your jam, but
especially intentionally ugly spy movies.
Okay, we're gonna get into the other side of that coin. Let's take a break first. I've got a few more points that we're gonna argue about here. We're not necessarily going to argue.
Oh, we're going to argue.
Oh, we're going to argue on a couple of these. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Okay, let's take a break. And we're back.
We're back. I'm running on a beach, just contemplating the sad turn my life has taken. And oh, shit, I just got tackled from behind by Austin. Surprise.
It's, all right. How was your break?
It was good.
Yeah.
I actually took a nap.
Oh, wow.
It was a bit boring, so I took a nap.
Unbelievable.
And now I'm
90
back.
minutes. 90 minutes of slow burn. Too much for you.
I like some slow burns.
I love
I'm not anti-slow burn.
I love a good slow burn movie. It can keep me engaged. And I think this movie, this is what I'm talking about. This is a slow burn, and on your way to the destination, on your way to the big turn at the end, you get some kick-ass action scenes, some great stunts, some really great foot chases. Like you said, there's the foot chase in Barcelona. Right. There's the shit across the rooftops of Dublin. Love it. I love all of it. It's not just cool stunt work. It's shot very well. It looks really good. Like, this to me is one of the better spy action movies to come out in the last 10, 15 years. And we're talking about the Daniel Craig James Bond movies have come out in that time. And I'm a big fan of Daniel Craig as James Bond. The Bourne movies have been coming out this whole time. Like,
and you still think this is better?
I think this is better shot. I do. There's things about, like, the Bond action scenes. Some of them, Sam Mendes has done wonderful stuff in Skyfall. He did great stuff in Spectre.
Right.
Spectre's kind of a failure as a movie. Has some really solid action scenes, though. But they're like too slick. They're a little too polished. Because it's James Bond, and that's what James Bond is. Jason Bourne has some good action scenes. I love the Bourne movies. I think they're really good. But in order to cover up the gaps, some of the shortcomings in fighting those action scenes, they shaky cam it. It's
like fast cuts and stuff.
It's fast cuts. It's meant to convey, like, the frantic nature of this fight. I get it. It's an artistic choice, and it's valid. But it gets a little old. I'm trying to watch it. This is a steady cam on some very brutal fighting. And I think it's the perfect mix of the two, where it makes this fight look really good, but it's also like, this chick is brutal. Like, she really smashed that vase on Michael Fassbender's head. For real. Like, that's a heavy...
Really?
That wasn't a breakaway vase. That was like...
I thought that was fate.
She was supposed to... in the trivia, it said she was supposed to miss. She was supposed to, like, throw it and miss. But she ended up, like, just in the moment, smashing it against his head. And she's like, Fassbender... It was in an interview I read with her. Fassbender is, like, this method kind of guy. And she was like, he loved it. He was
Oh
like,
my God.
and he just went with it. But it was
broke
but it was
over
a
his
heavy
head.
ass vase that she busted on his head. Like, these fights are brutal and they're tough. And she didn't use stand-ins. Fassbender, I don't think anybody used stand-ins. They really they did this stuff, and it looks raw and real, and you can see everything. He's not moving the camera all over the place.
Yeah.
I think they're wonderfully shot action scenes all the way across the board.
I especially love the cafe fight scene because it caught me so off guard. It was just like the camera was like from the floor. They got a coffee order 2 seconds ago, and then he just throws it in her face.
I know.
It was so intense, and it threw me so off guard. And then the gun, and like they were wrestling over it. Yeah,
everything about that, like the details of that, like he shoots and like shoots the floor, right?
Right.
And then you can see like on the floor, they didn't just like put a hole or they didn't do nothing. There's like a powder burn, like the way it really would be. Like there's an element of reality to these action scenes that I think is just brilliant. It's stunning. It's so well shot. I love these action scenes, and I think Soderbergh did such great work. I mean, he's not an action guy, but he made these action scenes. He made this action movie. I don't know. He brought in good stunt people, good technical advisors, whatever. And I think this is a really great action movie that is still a little bit overlooked, I think.
I think the action in this movie is great. Like, it's near flawless, but I don't think that's enough for a movie alone.
But that's what carries you through the slow burn, where you're saying you're getting bored. I can't believe you're getting bored with all of these great sequences.
I wasn't bored at those parts.
Yeah.
But I was bored at, like, the conversation scenes. Oh, dear God.
Those are so few and far between, though. Like,
they are.
I feel like in 90 minutes, what you felt like was a 10-minute conversation scene was probably like 2 minutes.
It was so incredibly awkward. That party, dear God.
Yeah, the party was probably the longest lull in the movie.
And then, like, just the way everyone was acting, it felt so stilted and gross. I don't know if it was the actors or the director, but it felt so unnatural and, like, no one was in character. Like, it was just...
I think, all right, let's talk about the acting then.
Okay.
Because, like I said before, I think this movie has an incredible cast. Ewan McGregor is a great actor.
He is.
Michael Fassbender, despite some of the movies he's chosen to be in, Assassin's Creed, he's in these really...
I don't know much about him.
He's Magneto in the new X-Men movies.
He's
fine as Magneto, but
okay.
He's also done these other weird franchise video game movies and stuff like that. And I'm like, you're Michael Fassbender. You were like an art house guy like 10, 15 years ago.
He needs that money, Dad.
I don't begrudge anyone for cashing a franchise check, man. Like, seriously. But Fassbender's great. He's a great actor. Michael Douglas. Love him. Banderas. Antonio Banderas. Channing Tatum, we talked about in Logan Lucky.
Who's the old guy who works for the government?
That's Michael Douglas.
Okay, yeah. I recognized him. I like him.
Oh, he's been around for years. You know, he's a Hollywood legend who is the son of another Hollywood legend. Like,
right.
And he worked with Soderbergh in this. He worked with Soderbergh in the Liberace movie. Beyond the Candelabra. It's an HBO movie where he plays Liberace. It's so good.
Okay.
It's an amazing movie. It really is. But yeah, Michael Douglas is great, and I feel like I know what you're saying. Everybody has the volume turned down on their performance.
Right.
And I think that's intentional. I think everybody, maybe it's because it's the spy world that no one's showing their cards. Everybody's sort of shifty, not to be trusted, and does not want to emotionally betray anything.
Sure.
Maybe that's it. And maybe it's just sort of like, maybe it is the direction Soderbergh wanted, where everybody is just, all right, just play it low. Just turn everything down.
I could see that, but like the story requires some moments with like intimacy and like
Right.
moments between characters, and it's just not there.
I think it is.
And even like the party scene is what bugs me the most, because they're supposed to be acting charismatic. This is them as spies, and they're just like so clearly they don't want to be there. And it's like, can you even try to give a performance?
I feel like everybody in that room didn't want to be there. I feel like that's the stuffy party. Nobody's cutting loose at a big stuffy party like that. You know what I mean?
Okay, but in a movie where you have stuffy performances outside of parties, you have to change it up to show them this is them in character, and I didn't feel like that happened.
That's fair. You didn't feel like Channing Tatum was performing? You didn't feel like he... All right, let's... I know what you're saying. I would argue there is more nuanced performances. Like Channing Tatum, I feel like is
that the other spy?
He's the guy who met her in the coffee shop, in the restaurant.
Right.
Who threw the coffee in her face.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like he actually had some life. When he shows up in Barcelona and he's just sort of like happy-go-lucky, and I feel like he's showing a little more emotion. It's subdued. It's not a big out loud performance.
Right. He was probably the most actual character.
But I also feel like Ewan McGregor, I think he had a lot going on, but it was like below the surface. He very clearly still has a thing for Mallory.
Right.
And when you figure out that his motivation for setting her up was because she broke up with him, it's like, oh my God, this is the most, like everything about how shifty he was through the whole thing makes so much sense. I feel like his performance is super nuanced.
You're picking out the two characters I didn't have a problem with. Like, those two and the dad are like...
Okay, there you go.
Were great. But then Mallory and the British spy and the guy who owned the house of the party they were at, like, all three of them were just like... I wanted to walk away from the movie.
Okay, Fassbender, I feel like the British spy.
Right.
I feel like his performance... Let's break this down one character at a time.
Oh, boy. We're going to be here for a long...
I feel like his performance was that he knew he was there to double-cross her. And he was just not going to show any cards. He was very much playing it cool, calm, collective, quiet. You know,
sure.
Right up until that moment. The guy who owned this house, same thing. They all knew they were stabbing her in the back. And they were face-to-face with her. Mallory... Let's talk about Mallory. Let's talk about Gina Carano's performance.
Okay.
Gina Carano, not an actor.
Clearly.
Okay. But did you know her voice was dubbed? That's not her voice.
I could tell because it sounded way
I didn't know that until this morning.
I didn't know it wasn't her voice.
No, it's not her voice. It was, I think, ADR. I think it was Laura San Giacomo. She used to do a show called Just Shoot Me. She was in Sex, Lies, and Videotape, which was an early Soderbergh movie. And she's in a movie from the 90s that I really like called Suicide Kings with Christopher Walken.
So did they just hate her voice
no.
much?
I think, there's an article, there's an interview I read where Gina Carano knew they were going to do it. She knows, especially at the time, this was, I think, her first acting performance. She's like, I'm not an actor. You know, that she said they could have shaved my head and dubbed Bill Clinton's voice over me, and I still would have done this. You know, she understood, like, I have shortcomings as an actor. They want a different voice. They need different inflection. Right. But she was essentially hired because she was a physical presence. She was able to do her own stunts, and she could I think she physically acted super well. I think her body language is great in this. I think her performance for being a non-actor, for being an athlete. Look, go watch Saturday Night Live when an athlete is hosting.
Oh, I know.
By athlete standards, I think she is head and shoulders. I mean, we've seen her in The Mandalorian last year.
Sure. Not everyone can be an actor. I get that. I just don't think if you can't act, don't be in a movie. I don't care if you can do cool flips. We have stunt people for a reason. That's a job for a reason.
Sure, but I don't think she's bad. I don't think she's bad in this movie. I think her tone matches the rest of the actors in this movie. It's an understated. She doesn't. I think it was probably easy to dub her voice because she does not have a lot of dialogue in this movie.
There are certain scenes where her body language does stand out to me, but then I guess it's mainly the dialogue scenes. I just didn't like them.
Did you not like what she said, or you just didn't like how it was said?
The way it was said, there were like a couple scenes where I felt like, oh, she's trying to be this mysterious girl, and it just didn't work for me. Like, I didn't buy it. Like, it was overacting almost.
Okay, but if it's not her voice, is your problem really with her?
The character, whatever. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you're going to bag on Gina Carano for her performance, but if it's somebody else's voice performance that you have a problem with, then it's really not on Gina Carano.
Okay. All right. Well, I didn't know that going in. Okay.
I'm just saying. Look, I don't think she was bad in this movie. I think she was given something very specific to do that she was capable of doing. Do I think she's Meryl Streep? Do I think she's an Oscar-worthy actress? She's not Jennifer Lawrence. She's not all. We have our powerhouse female actors. She's holding her own with the powerhouse male actors of the day.
Sure.
I don't know if this part was specifically written for her, but I think it is a part that she was able to handle very capably. I just maybe the other performances in this movie were geared to match her. Maybe it was just a direct that. What am I trying to say? That this was a very specific character that she just happened to line up with her ability and her presence.
It's kind of like when you're playing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like Uncut Gems has I don't remember his name. He's an NBA player. He's an actual NBA player playing himself.
Oh, okay.
In the movie, and he's actually not bad for what he's given to do. He holds his own against Adam Sandler, who dumbass comedies that he makes. Adam Sandler's honestly a great actor when he's given the right thing to do.
When he tries.
Exactly. And I feel like Gina Carano falls in that same realm. Not with Adam Sandler, but like with this Kevin Garnett is, I think, the guy.
Right.
But no, I think she matches, and everything in this movie is subtle.
I don't know if you're just better at arguing than me, because the more you talk about it, the more I'm like,
I have a lot more years of practice of arguing with people.
I have the internet. I argue a lot too. But like, when you look at each individual part of the movie, it's like, yeah, okay, I guess I can see the merit of that. But put together, it just didn't click with me.
It's not adding up to the sum of its parts for you.
Yes, all of these things are just slightly off-putting. Like, if they just had ugly colors, or if they just had stilted acting, or if they just had, like, one of these things. But instead they have all of it, and all of it adds up to just putting me off of the movie.
Okay. I can't argue with what you don't like. The colors, I get it. I think the colors are ugly too. That blue light color.
Right.
Okay. But that's only in this small section of the movie. It's there for a weird, surreal choice. I don't really get it. I'm not going to be like, oh, actually, it represents, but like, it's a winter day. Everything's cold. Maybe he just wanted to put a cold filter on it.
Sure.
I get that. It shows up again in the New Mexico house. I want to talk about the New Mexico scene. Her dad's house.
Oh, okay.
There's that blue overlay. Yes, it's hard to see everything. It's very ugly.
I did think that worked kind of well, because it was like not intense, like it was a thriller almost.
Yeah. No, that was a very dark part of the movie.
Right. Suspenseful. That's the word I was looking for.
It is. It's suspenseful, but it also is Like, there's a very dark turn. She's in her father's house killing a man. Like,
in front of him.
And like that specifically, when I'm talking about subtlety, like, you see Bill Paxton be horrified and watching his daughter. And this is a guy who's writing books about the military, who knows vaguely what his daughter does.
Right.
And I assume is a veteran, a combat veteran himself.
I would assume.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And he is horrified to see his daughter, his little girl, brutally murdering a man with her bare hands. But he never says it. It's just a look on his face. That's what I'm talking about, understated performance. The volume is turned down externally, but you can see the wheels turning under the surface of all of these actors.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
It does.
I'm just using that as an example. Like, you saw that, right? You saw that
I did see that, yeah.
He was really disturbed. And
I expected it to come up. I expected him to be like, I don't want you to do this anymore.
That's the brilliance of this movie, though, is that it doesn't come up. We know what he feels, or maybe not the brilliance of the movie as a whole, but the brilliance of the performances. We know how he feels without him saying it. All I'm thinking during that is, well, he's got to move now.
Yeah.
Like, he can't live in that house. But and the same thing with like Ewan McGregor. You know how he feels about Mallory.
That part is clear.
He does kind of hint at it, but even when he's like the flashback with him and Fassbender, and Fassbender says, "This is professional, right? This isn't someone's personal feelings," and he's like, "It's all about money," and you see it under the surface. No, he's going to murder his ex-girlfriend.
It's very clear, yeah.
Right. And that's what he's playing with, international espionage to kill his ex-girlfriend, basically. That's his main motivation. And I think that's the brilliance of it, is he never is like, no, it's all about money. And then they show his fingers crossed behind his back. Like, they're never showing you. Or they're never telling you. They're always showing you.
There's a difference between not being over the top and being... I don't want to say being good. I don't know. I feel
subtle.
Like... Sure, yeah.
Is that what you mean? Like...
Well, you're saying, like, the performances, you keep picking out the good parts, and I'm trying to highlight...
the good parts are what makes this movie good.
But there are bad parts.
Arguable.
Okay, well, there are. That's my argument. There are.
Well, okay. Oh, agree to disagree.
Okay, it's mainly Mallory, the British guy, and the party scene that I had a problem with.
The party scene is slow. I'm not going to argue with you, but
it's not just slow. It's bad acting. There's horrible acting.
I agree to disagree on that.
Okay.
I don't think it's horrible. I think it's just understated.
I don't think so. I don't think it should have been understated. In scenes where it's
what
like
did you want them to be doing
her
at the
father
party?
seeing them, I wanted them to be espionage. I wanted them to be pretending, and instead they were just the same characters they were throughout the entire movie, and that was boring.
But they were pretending. They were pretending to be a couple.
Okay, barely.
What'd you want them to be, like, making out in the corner? This isn't a junior high party. This is like some high society party. That they're just, it's a stuffy party where they're like, okay, let's go through the motions. And everybody who goes to that party is doing the same thing.
I wanted them, I didn't feel that, though. I didn't feel like they were matching everyone else at the party, though.
Okay.
They weren't interacting with people. They weren't really doing anything. It just felt bland. And I feel like if you're going to have that long of a scene, and if it's going to be this directionless part of the movie for that part up until the twist, and it's a party scene, it should be a party scene. It should be engaging.
You want it to be the party scene from...
I don't want it to be a rager, okay?
No. But, like, did you ever see True Lies, the Arnold Schwarzenegger spy movie?
No, I don't watch Arnold Schwarzenegger movies.
Well, you should. It's a pretty good movie, actually. But
okay.
But it's like a James Bond-ish kind of thing. Like, he breaks into this high society party and he tangos with the ladies. I
wanted James Bond. I wanted that suave, professional, pretending to be this high society
Yes.
person. And I didn't get it.
No, you didn't, because that's not what this movie is.
Okay, well...
This movie, I think, is trying to say, in the same way that, like, the fight scenes are brutal, to say, this is what a real brutal fight to the death looks like. It's not fun. It's not choreographed. It's not slick moves. It is cheap shots and beating the shit out of each other, you know? Like, and it is saying... Espionage is not waltzing in and being the most handsome man in the room and saying, my name's James Bond, I'm a banker. Like giving your real name and then having a bunch of gadgets that do I got my X-ray goggles and all this. No, espionage is being like not noticed most of the time. It's boring, it's waiting, it's surveillance, it's not this glamorous
I
thing.
didn't get that from that. They could have shown it better.
That they were showing you exactly that.
I didn't get it.
They could have shown me what they were already showing me. This is the point of this movie, is I think it was trying to be a more realistic look at espionage and spies in general. I don't know how realistic it is, but a non-glamorous look at it. And to say, like, look, spying isn't cool. These aren't, like, righteous people. They're all backstabbing assholes who are generally serving their own agendas.
I just feel like when you have that subtle performance in a spy movie, it didn't click with me. And then also, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
No, you wanted a more exciting movie. You wanted a slick, cool. You wanted an
For
Ocean's
that
11.
part,
Right.
I don't care about the action being slick. I wanted the espionage to be slick.
Right.
Because that's what... I mean, it's just boring.
Fair.
I don't want a boring
Fair.
spy movie. That's ridiculous.
But that's...
I come for exciting crap.
But there's a whole genre of spy fiction. Soldier... What is it? Soldier, Sailor, Tinker, Spy...
I don't know.
It's a John le Carré. There's a whole like spy novel. I think it's largely European paperback spy novel. That one was made into a movie a couple years ago with Gary Oldman. Everyone's complaints were what your complaints are right now. This is boring. They're these sort of like procedurals of like based on like real espionage. Real MI6, real CIA kind of stuff. It's not fight scenes and action. This one put some action in it. This one had that part of it. But it also is sort of showing like, this is the minutia of the spy world. It's not glamorous. It's procedural. And here we're putting in this added mystery of a double cross of one of the pawns in the spy game.
Okay.
That's what this is.
Okay, you can do that though, and I feel like the subtle performances took away from... It made it harder to follow. Like, I didn't get any acting or pretending in that other than like he was like, oh, she's jet lagged. Like, that was it. Like,
Sure.
I just didn't buy it.
Okay.
I want a little more, okay? At least show like their faces changing into like their acting.
You want to fake mustaches for everybody?
No, I mean facial expressions.
I know what you mean. I think I don't know. I think it just wasn't your cuppa. That's fine.
I guess I might have to watch it a few times, but
I think you should. I think this movie is good. That's my bottom line of this movie. I think this is a good slow burn. That's part of what makes it the slow burn, is that it is a very quiet movie until it's not. And I think the fact that it's quiet the whole way through punctuates when it's not. It punctuates the fight scenes. It makes them louder. It makes them more brutal. But they have to take that away. Look at Avengers movie. Look at Transformers movie.
I don't want an Avengers movie.
No, I'm saying when there's constant action, none of it matters. You're
Right.
not blown away by anything. This one has to take the volume way down.
But I wasn't blown away by the fight scenes either.
I can't believe that. These fight scenes are amazing.
They were good fight scenes. I recognize that they're good, but I don't... martial arts doesn't do it for me. I don't
You're
know.
really going to be sorry when I start picking kung fu movies out.
Oh God, probably. Unless they're the ones where they like jump around and fly. That's cool. This is I understand being like, this is reality. This is subverting expectations, but you still have to engage me. You're a movie. Your job is to entertain me. Yeah. And it didn't entertain.
That's fair.
The second half of it entertained.
I don't think you can say that this movie's not entertaining, though. Like, you can say you weren't entertained by it, but to say that the movie didn't do its job, I think this just missed your personal taste. I think this is would you say this is a poorly made movie? Like, on a technical level? Weird lighting aside.
I really want to take points away for the lighting, though. It's good technically, sure.
Okay. But
it's all right. I will say it is all right technically.
Wow. You hear that, Steven Soderbergh? You're an all right director.
Coming from me. I just wait. Not really. But like between the lighting, the dubbed over audio, and I felt like
I think the ADR was really good. For ADR, for dubbed over dialogue, a lot of times that is glaringly apparent.
It was glaringly apparent.
I didn't think it was.
It sounded way louder than everything else.
I thought it was a decent blend.
It was way too crisp. It sounded like she was up against the camera.
I'll have to pay more attention next time.
I guess you will.
I guess I will. Either way, it doesn't kill the movie for me.
All right.
I think it blends with Gina Carano's performance really well, and I think she. I think it combined to give her a really solid performance.
I think on a technical level, this movie is like a 7 out of 10.
That's a solid score.
Sure, you're acting like it's a 10 out of 10 though.
7 out of 10 it's a C.
It's a C.
That's not bad.
Okay.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, like, this is Soderbergh's best film. Like, clearly, we watched Logan Lucky. We loved it.
Right.
I hate Ocean's 12. Didn't see 13. Ocean's 11. Great. Traffic. Great. What am I missing? I don't know. What's the Elmore Leonard thing he did? Out of Sight.
I don't know.
With George Clooney. Great crime movie.
Can I say, Logan Lucky also has some weird color things, like a lot of blues in there. It's way more colorful, and I don't take it away from the movie, but it is like combining it with this movie, I'm like, he has a weird color thing.
So does Traffic. So does Out of Sight at times. I think Soderbergh likes to put a filter on things.
I think he might be colorblind.
He may be colorblind. I think he likes to do things honestly. I think he's trying to convey a mood when he does it. He's making a choice. That's clear.
It's definitely a choice.
If you don't get it and I don't get it, that's fine. But he is making a choice. It's a lot of... Tony Scott used to do a lot of that stuff too. If you watch something like Man on Fire, Tony Scott puts filters on everything. It's completely stylized, but it kind of works in the movies that he's telling. It's like... okay, there's another shot in here in Europe, in Barcelona, when they're casing, there's like the montage of them surveilling the safe house.
Right.
And parts of that are in black and white.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
when it's following the bad guy, it's in black and white.
Right. There's these weird shots that he's always playing with color. Like, I'm going to show you this in this way. I'm going to show you this in this way. And it's meant to convey information. It's meant to convey a mood. It's an intentional choice, is what I'm saying.
It is. I think...
You may not like it.
I like playing with color, but I don't like desaturating and making it ugly. I'm the opposite way, and maybe that's because I like cartoons. But like, if you look at Thor Ragnarok, or if you look at who's the guy that's doing the new Dune movie, and he did
Denis Villeneuve.
Right, he also did, what's the Harrison Ford?
Blade Runner 2049.
Right. Those have a lot of messing around with color, but it's like adding color. It's making it way brighter, and I like that way more.
There's a vibrance to 2049 in the desert scenes, but it also does desaturate at times when they go inside. The very beginning of that movie is very gray. It's very dark when Dave Bautista's there.
Right. I'm just going off of what I've seen. I haven't watched the whole movie.
But Arrival, you know what Arrival looks like. Also his movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Arrival really has the color turned down through a lot of that.
Right, except when they're in the spaceship and it's all whites and very bright.
But a lot of it generally is not void of color, but it's not bright. It's not vibrant.
Yeah, it's like moody.
But we talk about Blade Runner being that, but that is kind of in line with the original Blade Runner, which is very dark, but when the lights come on, it's very bright. Like it's either neon, it's all or nothing. But I would, yeah,
But the way he turns the colors down, like in Arrival and stuff, like that's basically what this movie is trying to do, but it does it way less ugly.
Okay.
It's a personal taste. It's
a stylistic choice, and I feel like a lot of those things, like I said earlier, Soderbergh, I'm assuming, I'm making an assumption here. I'm not really trying to
right.
I feel like he's trying to imitate or taking influence from European movies, European spy movies, something like Run Lola Run or something like that, where it just looked. And the Bourne movies do this too. The guy Paul Greengrass, who directed at least 2 of the original trilogy of the Bourne movies, he said in an interview one time that when he goes to a European city, like when he goes to like Paris to shoot, he hires a crew from Paris because because they're not going to shoot the Eiffel Tower. They're not going to be like, look, we're in Paris, the Eiffel Tower. You know, they're just going to shoot Paris. They're going to shoot the city as you see it when you live there.
Locals know it better.
Exactly. And it's going to be like, this is what the buildings look like. They're not going to sensationalize it. It's just their city that they know how to shoot. And so, like, I found that really interesting, and I feel like that's what they're doing here. That's what Soderbergh's doing here. They're in Dublin, and she's running across all these buildings. It's like, yeah, it's not this glamorous set piece. It's shot in a really interesting way, and the stunts are really cool, but I don't feel like it's putting a shine on Dublin. Like, cool, we're in Dublin. It's just a city that she happens to be in.
It's realistic.
Yes. It's grounded.
Sure.
And I feel like this whole movie, that's what I like about it. That you don't like about it.
But I think you can be grounded without being ugly. You can.
Okay.
I think there's a point, like, there needs to be a scale. Like,
you heard it here. Austin hates plus-size models. Everything needs to be slick and beautiful in Photoshop.
I have beauty standards for the movies that I watch.
Wow, your traditional beauty standards are really...
It doesn't have to be traditional.
Cancel Austin.
Okay.
No, I know what you mean. No,
okay.
This is an aesthetic choice that you didn't like. I would love to show you some Tony Scott movies and just see what you like, or what you think about
Tony Stark? I didn't know Iron Man made movies.
Yeah, he's a great filmmaker. Tony Scott.
Ridley
Scott's brother.
Oh, I know Ridley Scott.
Yeah, his brother is Tony Scott. He made the original Top Gun. Not going to hold that against him. He's also made some very cool movies.
I've seen No, wait, no, I haven't.
He's sadly deceased, but something like Man on Fire that employs a lot of filters and a lot of strange color choices just for stylistic reasons. Somehow it sort of blends and works.
Okay.
And I would just be curious to see
for
you to watch it and just to see if you agree with that or if you're like, this is ugly.
I should expand my horizons. I just feel like this movie was so far out of what I like that it just caught me off guard.
I think it's
a good movie still, but it didn't engage with me the way I think it wanted to.
Right. I don't think this movie's for everybody. This movie was not a big box office. I don't know what it made, but I remember this movie kind of came and went from the box office. It was not like a big... It wasn't this Steven Soderbergh big-time project.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think this was also a time where smaller action movies like this were starting to get nudged out of theaters a little bit more. The MCU was coming into being in 2011. You know, like Transformers movies were all still coming out. Like
this probably had like a month or two in theaters.
I bet probably not even that. This wasn't an Ocean's Soderbergh movie. This was one of his smaller projects. They kind of knew it was going to be smaller, and I think it kind of came and went. Some people saw it. I hadn't seen it since it was new.
I'm gonna have to watch those Ocean's movies. I've seen
I'd say watch the first one and then let it go.
I think Ocean's 8, is that the female one?
Ocean's 8 is, yeah.
I watched that and I liked it.
It's loosely connected. Ocean's 11 is like a million times better.
I'll take your word for it. Remakes normally aren't as good as capturing it.
I mean,
it held my attention though.
They could have just done it, and like Ocean's 8 is fine.
When I don't have anything to compare it to, it's pretty great.
I don't think I'm not even making comparison. I think it's a mediocre heist movie. I don't think it's anything special.
Okay.
That's just me. You know, I know there are people who like it. I don't know that I've heard anybody be like, oh, it's one of the great heist movies of all time. Like, okay, whatever, right. You know, but
I'll have to see Soderbergh's.
See Ocean's 11. I think you'd like it.
Okay.
It's a fun movie, and it is a misdirect too, and it's
more. Maybe I'll like his more polished work.
I think that's it with a lot of people. I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I like Soderbergh's mainstream things, and then his like weird side projects, his more art house movies that he makes. I think he's one of these directors who is like, yeah, I'll make a movie for you that will make a ton of money, and then you have to let me make. Like, that's why he made sequels to the Ocean's movies.
Right.
He goes, okay, you know, give me money to make what I want to make, and then I'll make you an Ocean's sequel that will make all that money back for you. You know,
kind of funny.
I think it's a good deal for directors to make.
I mean, if he's doing what he wants, yeah. It's just normally you don't see such a big style change.
Yeah.
Like from movie to movie.
I would say he has a fairly consistent style. It's everything moves, everything looks.
I can see similarities.
Sometimes things look a little more polished than others, but snappy dialogue.
Comparing Logan Lucky to this, I can see some of the similarities,
right. But
yeah, this is a very different movie.
It is a very different movie. But to your point about like expanding your horizons, that is kind of what I hope we are doing here.
Right.
In some degree. I hope that I'm bringing you movies that you wouldn't normally watch. I don't want to force you to watch a bunch of crap that you're going to hate. But for me to bring in a movie, what I'm doing is going, here's a movie that I enjoy. Or sometimes it's a movie that I haven't seen that I've wanted to see, you know, and that's...
you've heard good things about.
Right,
yeah.
But if it's a movie that you wouldn't normally watch, like...
That's what I'm trying to do.
I'm happy. I enjoy... you and your brothers growing up, one of the things I really enjoyed is when you started getting old enough that I could start showing you movies that I enjoyed and saying, look, this is what I enjoy and I think you'll like it too. I showed you guys Aliens. I am going to show you some Arnold Schwarzenegger movies because dumb blow-up action that they may be, some of them are actually some really solid, fun movies. You know, like... I know we can be dismissive of things all day long, but there's some really fun work to be had out there.
I've always enjoyed movies, but I've always focused more on TV shows. So it's I've been trying to I have a bucket list of 100 movies. It's just some random thing that someone on the internet wrote.
Sure.
But it's something that I've been like, okay, these are sort of classic movies to fill in the holes and maybe figure out what I'm more interested in watching.
That's what, like, the AFI list...
it's the same concept, yeah.
Right. You can make adjustments as you go. Like, a lot of complaints about the AFI list is, like, there's not a ton of diversity on it. Some of them are just holdovers. Like, well, these are the movies that the AFI members grew up with.
Right.
So they're just sort of nostalgia bombs for these people that
they don't have any relevance to actual.
A lot of things. Unspooled is a really solid podcast that went down the AFI list and sort of reviewed. And as they got done with reviewing each one, they're like, "Does this still belong on the list?" And a surprising number of them, they're like, "Yeah, I don't think this is relevant to audiences anymore."
I think part of that might also be how quickly the internet has changed how we perceive things. So it's like they're going to need to start updating that list more if they want to keep it relevant to pop culture and what people... I mean, that's not all that the list is about, but...
It's not, but relevance does have something to do with it. There are some people who are like, like Martin Scorsese has, 4 or 5 movies on that list. And they're like, well, every director should be represented once. And I'm kind of like, well, Scorsese's made that many great movies. Maybe he does belong on the list. Spielberg.
5 times is a little much, though.
He's made some really solid movies that have really impacted that. We can argue this all day.
I'm sure he has. But if you're going to have a list of only 100, you need to be representing more things that are out there.
But... that's sort of the philosophical question of the list is this meant to represent the 100 best movies that are made, or is this meant to represent a cross-section of American cinema?
Are those actually the 100 best movies, though, or are they...
As voted on by the AFI,
yeah.
Sure.
But are
which
these...
is faulty, right.
Are these just popular because they're the most well-known, because they're written by these famous white people?
No, I don't think that they're necessarily all the best known or the most seen movies. There are movies on there from the silent era. There are, some more obscure things. There's a lot of argument to be made that more diversity belongs on the list. I put that more on studios who don't hire enough diverse
I blame the studios, too.
People blame the Oscars all the time and like, well, Oscars are so white. I'm like, well, take it up with the studios who aren't listening to black filmmakers.
Well, the Oscars are your buying awards anyway.
The Oscars are very political. Right.
I would say, yes, it's on the studios, but also when you're making a list like that, it is partly up to you to champion these lesser-known minority films. Sure. I feel like that is... important. That helps show studios, oh, hey, there actually is interest in these things. As awful as it is to say, they will make money off of it. So, like, if you show them that, then they're going to stop that prejudice and be like, okay, maybe there is something here for us, even if it is them doing it only for profit.
But part of the problem with the AFI list is, it's 100+ years of American cinema. How many of those years were there no black filmmakers?
That's true.
Were there no female filmmakers? It's only recently that those voices are even starting to come through. So when this is what you have to pick from, well, of course it's going to be very white. I don't necessarily think someone should make it on the list because of their demographic.
We shouldn't make like a quota to fill,
but I think the more that studios start, don't tell me there's not very talented black filmmakers out there.
Moonlight should be on that list if it isn't. Things like that.
Moonlight is probably too new to be on that list, but
is there a restriction?
It's just not looked at. I think part of what they look at, I'm guessing here, I don't sit in these meetings.
Right. But you don't?
Voters are typically older, for one. Mm-hmm. They're looking at older movies. But I think a lot of it is like, is this going to stand the test of time?
Right.
There are movies that make a huge impact when they come out that, 10 years down the road, nobody's even talking about them anymore.
Because, like, they're relevant to specific cultural things of the time.
They're relevant, or they just strike a chord in that moment. If you look at a list of Oscar winners, just go back 20 years. I guarantee you half those movies you've never even heard of. Nobody talks about anymore.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I've looked before.
There are movies that win a Best Picture Oscar that are timeless, that people still love. I mean, people still love Rocky. You know, we're still making Rocky sequels. You know, then there's something like Crash, which is the most paint-by-numbers document of, hey, don't be racist possible. And people were dismissive the day after it won.
So many things that shouldn't have Oscars have Oscars. Bohemian Rhapsody? Come on. Suicide Squad?
I'm just talking Best Pictures, but yeah, you're right.
They just give it out.
Well, I mean, something like Suicide Squad was like a makeup award, right?
Yeah, but even still.
I mean, Star Wars won like special effects Oscars.
Right.
But it wasn't winning Best Picture. You know, but I mean, there are things like... you know, there are things like animated movies that just... I don't know if there's any animated movies on the AFI list. But
really?
I mean, you take something like Coco, or I'm just...
Even like Toy Story 2 has such a big cultural impact.
Right. Oh, Toy Story is on the AFI list.
Oh, it is?
The first one. I want to say the newest movie on that list is probably less than 20 years old, but that's really an outlier. The Lord of the Rings movies, I think the first one. They just put one on there kind of to represent the series.
Right.
That's on there. There may be something slightly newer than that. Toy Story is one of the newer movies on the list.
Right.
I'm trying to think, because I listened to the podcast almost all the way through, but they also have, like, Charlie Chaplin movies, which, they should.
That's justified.
You know, City Lights is a great movie. Modern Times is a great movie. Like, these are really... Buster Keaton, I think, has a movie on there, The General.
Okay.
Silent era. But... yeah, it's a really interesting conversation, and when they start talking diversity, when anyone starts talking about diversity in film, I think in the next 100 years, that list is going to look very different. I think there's going to be a lot of black filmmakers on there. I know Spike Lee is on there.
Right.
Do the Right Thing, I think, is on there. But right now, I think we're seeing more and more diversity come through in mainstream movies. You know, we can look at Marvel and go, oh, look, Patty Jenkins made Wonder Woman. Well, great. You know.
That's not Marvel, but yeah.
I mean, comic book, franchise in general.
Okay, yeah.
That's not a great movie. But I get what you're doing. You're saying this is a female-centric movie. Yes, of course we should have a woman's... You know, we should not have a man directing a woman's point of view. Like, I get that. Like, let's broaden that out, though. You know,
right, but then there's also, like... I can't think of any right now, but I know they exist. Like Jordan Peele, he's making good movies.
Yeah, Jordan Peele, I think, is someone everybody's kind of keeping an eye on and going, oh, the newest voice in horror movies is a black comedian. You know, is a biracial comedy actor who's come out of the woodwork and really made an impact in the last few years.
It's good to see that.
I think so. I've not seen his new Twilight Zone, though. I've heard mixed things.
I watched an episode, but, like, I'm not going to subscribe to anything to get it.
I know. It's so hard to watch everything. Even something like that I want to see. It's like, that's the only thing I want to see on CBS All Access.
I just want that.
I don't want to have to subscribe for this whole thing.
Well, that and Star Trek, but...
I would watch the new Trek, sure. I'm just not... super into it as much as
I don't want to subscribe for Young Sheldon. Like
I don't think anyone... I think Young Sheldon is just the thing that comes with whatever you want to see.
Right. It's like those games that come with the Nintendo Wii. It's like no one wants them.
Do we need to play 100-pin bowling? Yeah, I'll play that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, here we are, 20 minutes into our... We almost have a second podcast.
Totally sidetracked.
Totally sidetracked. I hope you enjoyed that. We had to get Austin talking about something joyful.
It was worth it.
the amount of
we're ending this on a happy note.
The amount of diversity I think that is imminent to come to the AFI, and I think the AFI will, at one point in the future, not be a bunch of old white dudes.
Right. We have to work at that.
And
we can't just expect diversity to just appear unless we're telling studios that we want it.
I think studios understand that that's wanted more and more, and I think they're going to get better, not just at including more voices, but in also having better portrayals of some of these characters. I feel like some of the we have a strong female character. Well, what's that mean? It means she does nothing wrong and has no problems at all. It's sort of
right. It's like almost like creating a new standard for women to live up to. It's like, this isn't a woman. This is a god.
You've made a bad character.
Captain Marvel is bad. I said it.
I've not seen it, but like a lot of the things I've read about Rey Skywalker, being the Mary Sue character. And it's like, I like Rey as she relates to Kylo Ren, but you're right. Rey is overpowered. Rey has no real problems that she doesn't just turn on a dime and get out of.
I do think that's similar to Luke Skywalker, though.
Luke, actually, I feel like had more... if you look in that middle chapter, Luke's inner turmoil was more. Luke had to really face up to the fact that he had to face his father, that his sworn enemy was...
right, Luke's journey was...
Luke's doesn't seem like it because Mark Hamill is not a great actor.
We're going to cut that out. We're going to cut that out before everyone stops listening.
He's a great voice actor. Love you in Batman the Animated Series, Mark Hamill.
Firelord Ozai.
Yeah, that's right. Skips.
Yeah. No, but I think Luke's arc is just different than Rey. Rey has to learn to stop idolizing the Jedi and to become a warrior.
It is a different arc.
She does have an arc, and she does have that whole, even though it's badly done in the last movie, I turn to the dark side?
It was such a nothing dilemma.
I blame that on J.J. Abrams.
I blame that. Yeah, I think J.J. Abrams really.
I do think her character had the ability.
And you better start kissing his ass because he is going to be on the AFI. If he's not there already, he's going to be the one picking the movies that go on the list. So,
dear God, Rise of Skywalker is going to be just 5 times.
The number 1 movie is Rise of Skywalker.
Interesting.
And Super 8.
That is a good movie.
I do like Super 8. Yes.
It's worth it.
Are we done bitching about the AFI list?
I think so.
Okay. Let's close this out then and move over to shout outs. What do you got this week?
Shout outs. To shout out, I have Daeja Talks TV.
Okay.
That's Daejah. Daeja has an account on YouTube and TikTok, and I don't think she's not a film major. She's not technically qualified to talk about anything, but she has...
Are we?
Right, exactly. She has some really great observations. She just watches a bunch of TV and she talks about them. And especially with me, there's like a lot of overlap in what she watches and what I watch. And I just find her takes to be really interesting. So,
all right.
I like to watch all of her videos.
Cool. That's on, what did you say, TikTok?
TikTok and YouTube.
And YouTube, okay.
Right. What do you got?
I mentioned it earlier, so I'm just going to lean in on it. The Unspooled podcast. It is a countdown. It's been going a little over a year, I think. They're done with the AFI list now, and they're discussing other movies that they like, that they think could possibly have a spot on the AFI in the future.
Some contenders.
Actually, like, they kicked off the discussion with talking about Mean Girls.
Really?
Yes.
It does have... I can see that.
And what a great portrayal of, young female culture and social culture and things like that. And just what a kind of fun comedy. I think, there needs to be more comedies on the list. But it is a rundown of the AFI list. I did not listen to every episode. I listened to the movies I've seen.
Right.
And it has some really interesting takes. It's Paul Scheer and Amy Nicholson. Paul Scheer's a comedic actor, like an improv guy.
Right.
And Amy Nicholson is a film critic. She's very analytical without being stuffy. I know on the side she did a limited podcast about the Halloween series. So it's not like she's a stuffed shirt film critic who doesn't know how to have fun with anything. But it really is like cool to have a modern look at these are the 100 best movies. So if you are interested in the AFI list and takes of what's on it and how it could be better.
And what maybe shouldn't be on it.
What maybe shouldn't be on it. What they could replace things with. I don't agree with every take they have, but I think it's a really interesting...
Well, that's sort of the thing is there's no one universal take, and so that's why the AFI list is going to be flawed.
It's a list that is voted on by people, and
right.
It's never going to be perfect, but the fact that it is always changing is, I think, makes it very interesting.
And it's people in power. Which also means that it's not always accurate to how everyone else feels.
Exactly. So that's Unspooled, the podcast. If you enjoy us and enjoy just people talking about movies, I think it'd be a good...
If you're going to have to pick one movie podcast, though, pick us.
Pick us.
No, I'm kidding.
Yes. No, I'm not. Listen to us. Who else goes on a 20-minute rabbit hole about something completely unrelated to Haywire?
Good point.
Us. And if you have made it this far, I do want to thank you for sticking it out and for listening to this episode of The Picture Show with Austin and Phil Rood. If you made it this far, you probably enjoy our show, so please leave us a review on your podcatcher of choice. It really helps our visibility, and it helps us to grow the show.
Yep, and another way you can help us grow is to tell a friend about us. We are actually scientifically proven to be the best movie podcast.
Science!
I believe it was NASA that conducted that study.
I think NASA deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse
Tyson.
I'm not even going any further with this.
Mike Tyson.
So
off track at this point.
What are we even doing? Okay, here's what we're doing. We're talking about next week, because what's next week kickoff, Austin?
Halloween movies.
Halloween. It's the Picture Show Halloween movie extravaganza.
Picture Halloween.
It's going to be fun. We are doing a month of Halloween movies.
That's 4 movies, 4 weeks.
4 movies. I'm thinking of a couple extra things we might manage to get in there, too. Anyway, I think Halloween, I'm not a big costume guy, but I've always enjoyed the idea of like watching scary movies all through October. So
I thought you were going to say eating a bunch of candy.
And candy. Yeah. Let's be real here. But, so yeah, this is, I've been looking forward to this since we started the podcast and the idea of dropping my phone in the middle of a recording. But,
it's exciting.
Austin, you've got the first pick for our month of October and scary movies. What are we watching for next week?
Well, I picked a great one. It's a classic.
Okay.
Human Centipede. No, I'm kidding. I would not let you sit through that. We're going to be doing Get Out by Jordan Peele.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The aforementioned Jordan Peele.
We did mention him earlier.
Have you seen it yet?
I haven't seen it.
All right.
I've had it spoiled, so that is going to... I mean, I think...
I don't know that there's
I think it'll still be great knowing the twist.
It's there's a slight twist at the end, sure. But like no, I'm really looking forward to that. That's a hell of a way to kick off
I think it's a great modern scary movie.
I think so as well, and we're going to talk about I mean, there's a lot to pick apart in there. So I'm looking forward to talking about it, but I think mostly I'm looking forward to watching it again.
All right.
I really do enjoy Get Out. So, cool.
It's going to be a fun one.
Join us next week for kicking off our Halloween month with Get Out by Jordan Peele.
This whole month. Stay tuned.
Perfect. Austin, what's your social media you want to promote?
I'm at austin.n.rood on Instagram and TikTok, and then just Austin and Rood on Twitter.
Give one more shout out for your YouTube. You did the
YouTube.
painting for last
yes, I did
episode.
Cora.
That's right.
I think it was 2 episodes ago.
I'm sorry, scheduled.
It's fine.
Yeah.
We're all over the place. It's Austin and Rood, I believe.
I'll put a link.
We'll double check.
The link will be in the show notes for Austin's painting video.
I've only
he handled
posted
the art duties for us this
I've
week.
only posted once, so
cool.
But I will be posting more.
Good deal. I'm at philrood.com, and you can get all the episode information on there and all my social media links. We're going to get out of here on that note. Austin, you want to read the credits?
Sure. We do everything ourselves.
Well, there you have it. We'll see you next time on The Picture Show.
See ya.
This movie stars Gina Carano, Ewan McGregor. I almost called it Ewan.
Ewan.
Because I just read things phonetically, people.